Something unimaginable is happening right now. The $2.8 trillion global car industry. Factories are halting production, car prices are plummeting, and millions of workers are at risk of losing their jobs. Electric vehicle giants that once promised the future are drowning in debt, and the very companies that defined mobility for the last century are bleeding billions. This isn't just a market correction, it's an implosion. So what exactly went wrong? And why are experts calling this the biggest automotive crash in modern history? Stay till the end, because what's coming next will change the cars we drive, the companies we trust, and maybe your wallet too. 1. The Golden Age of Cars, How We Got Here. For over a century, the automobile was a symbol of progress, freedom, and industrial power. From Henry Ford's Model T to Elon Musk's Tesla, cars shaped economies and cultures alike. The car industry became a $2.8 trillion global empire, employing over 60 million people worldwide. Every new decade brought something revolutionary: safety, luxury, efficiency, and technology. By 2020, the world had over 1.4 billion vehicles on the road, and automakers were selling over 70 million cars every year. But beneath this glittering success lay a dangerous truth: the car market was built on credit, hype, and unsustainable expectations. Cheap financing, rising demand, and speculative investments inflated the market like a balloon. And as we're about to see, that balloon just popped. 2. The electric dream, a revolution fueled by hype. When Tesla made headlines with its Model S and Model 3, investors saw dollar signs. The promise was irresistible: a clean, electric future. At its peak, Tesla's valuation alone exceeded $1 trillion, making it worth more than the next 10 automakers combined. 3. The interest rate tsunami. If you've ever wondered how a global market crashes, this is where it begins. For years, car sales were fueled by cheap loans and easy credit. Consumers financed cars with low interest rates, and automakers borrowed billions to expand. But when central banks hiked interest rates in 2023 and 2024 to fight inflation, the automotive world hit a wall. Suddenly, that $40,000 car came with monthly payments too high for the average buyer. Auto loan defaults began rising. Dealers sat on record levels of unsold inventory. Even worse, automakers faced rising costs on their own debt, billions in interest payments that wiped out profits. The result? Demand fell off a cliff. Factories slowed production. And the once unstoppable $2.8 trillion machine began to sputter. 4. The used car time bomb. Here's where things turned from bad to terrifying. During the pandemic, used car prices soared to insane levels, sometimes even higher than new cars. People bought vehicles as investments, thinking prices would only rise. But as new car supply returned and interest rates rose, that bubble burst. Used car prices dropped over 20 to 30% in just a few months. Dealers who had stocked up during the boom were now sitting on massive losses. Banks that financed those loans began repossessing vehicles that were now worth less than the debt owed on them. It was 2008 all over again, but this time, the subprime bubble wasn't in housing. It was in cars. 5. The EV glut, when supply destroys demand. By 2025, nearly every major automaker had jumped on the EV bandwagon. Ford, GM, Toyota, Volkswagen, Hyundai, BYD, all poured billions into electric cars. But they forgot one crucial rule of economics: too much supply kills profit. Factories kept churning out electric cars, even as consumers grew hesitant. Charging infrastructure was still limited. Battery prices remained high. And many drivers simply weren't ready to switch. Soon, EV lots were overflowing, unsold, unwanted, and overproduced. Automakers slashed prices to move inventory, but that only made things worse. Profit margins evaporated. Competitors began price wars that no one could win. In a desperate attempt to survive, several EV startups filed for bankruptcy, marking the beginning of the electric collapse. 6. China's shadow over the car market. While the West struggled, China became both the savior and the destroyer of the global car market. Companies like BYD, NIO, Geely, and XPeng flooded the world with affordable EVs, dominating markets from Europe to Latin America. Their secret? State subsidies, cheap labor, and complete control over battery supply chains. But it came at a cost. Western automakers found themselves unable to compete on price, leading to factory closures and layoffs. By 2025, European car sales had dropped by nearly 20%, and several mid-tier brands were on life support. The car market had become a battlefield, and China was winning, not just in EVs, but in manufacturing efficiency and global strategy. The balance of power in the automotive world had shifted forever. 7. The silent victims, dealers, workers, and suppliers. Behind the headlines of collapsing stocks and vanishing profits are millions of real people. Auto dealerships, once bustling centers of community commerce, began shuttering across the US, Europe, and Japan. Mechanics, factory workers, and parts suppliers suddenly faced layoffs. The ripple effect was devastating. 6. Don't slam the brakes. There's a thrill in testing a car's brakes, but slamming them in the early days is risky. Brakes, like engines, need a break-in period. The pads and rotors must wear into each other's surfaces smoothly. It means your car might never achieve the full stopping power it was designed for. It's like braking in a pair of shoes. Wear them gently at first, and they mold perfectly. Abuse them too soon, and you'll deal with blisters forever. The same goes for brakes, treat them kindly, and they'll protect on gentle, progressive stops. Allow the pads to bed into the rotors naturally. This ensures maximum friction and consistent performance later. Remember, you don't just want brakes that work, you want brakes you can trust when it matters most. 7. Never ignore tire care. Tires are your car's only contact with the road, yet they're often overlooked. Brand new cars usually come with tires that need their first few hundred miles to properly seat and adjust. Ignoring tire care during this period is like walking barefoot on rough terrain, possible, but painful. Check the tire pressure regularly, as it often fluctuates in the first weeks. Underinflated tires cause poor fuel economy and uneven wear, while overinflated ones reduce grip and comfort. Also, avoid aggressive cornering or hard launches. New tires have a protective release agent from manufacturing that takes time to wear off. Until it's gone, grip is reduced, making the car more prone to sliding. Think of your tires as shoes. Would you run a marathon in brand new sneakers without breaking them in first? Probably not. Give your tires time to settle, and they'll reward you with safety, performance, and longevity. Don't take them for granted, because when push comes to shove, they're the only thing keeping you on the road. Battery prices remained high, and many drivers simply weren't ready to switch. Soon, EV lots were overflowing, unsold, unwanted, and overproduced. Automakers slashed prices to move inventory. The end of an era. The car has always been more than a machine, it's a mirror of humanity. It represents our ambition, our innovation, and yes, our mistakes. The crash of the $2.8 trillion car market isn't just an economic event, it's a turning point in history. We're witnessing the fall of old empires and the birth of new ones. And as the dust settles, one truth remains: you can't outrun reality forever. The road ahead will be uncertain, but perhaps, just perhaps, it'll be cleaner, fairer, and more sustainable. If you made it this far, you now understand how deep this crisis goes. The $2.8 trillion car market didn't just explode, it exposed every weakness in our system. So before you buy your next car, your next stock, or your next dream, remember this story. Because history doesn't repeat itself, but it definitely rhymes. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit subscribe, drop a comment, and let us know. Do you think this crash was inevitable, or could the industry have avoided it? Because the next revolution in cars has already begun. And you're watching it unfold right now.